because your daughter wasn't there.
That would be true.
This young lady, who was also in the car, what is your name?
Colleen.
Colleen sent you a check. Step up, Colleen. Why did you send her $800, Colleen?
I wanted to avoid conflict.
Why don't you tell me where you were going when you borrowed the car?
We were going to Iowa.
From where?
From Greeley, Colorado.
How many miles is that trip?
700.
Each way?
Yes.
And the car made it there without a problem?
Yes.
What happened on the way back?
The engine seized.
Did anything happen before the engine seized? Look at me.
The oil light came on possibly a little bit before, but I didn't see it. I wasn't driving.
Colleen, let's not play games with each other so that way you won't be embarrassed. When did you find out that the oil light went on?
Right before the engine broke down, the car broke down.
And who told you the oil light went on?
Kelly was in the middle of telling me.
What did she say to you?
Basically, the oil light's on, and the car broke down right then.
How long had the oil light been on, Kelly?
It had been on for about a second or two, right before the engine seized.
Had you ever had any problems with leaking oil in the car before?
No, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Annie Pappas.
Annie, when you had the car, did you have to put oil in the car frequently?
I put oil in, we serviced it in June, right? Correct. And we put oil in it, how long before? I'm sorry, I didn't know exactly. My dad always put oil in the car for us, so.
How old a car is this?
It's 1990.
So the car's 13 years old.
Yeah, so you do put oil in it.
And you have this car at college?
Yes, my mom gave it to me.
So, Ms. Pappas, what makes you think Miss Aldern is responsible for half of the damage to the car?
Two reasons. First of all, through the talk from these girls at the dorm, the comment was produced saying that they drove for 30 minutes with the oil light on. The second reason is that it's not a seized engine. It was an engine that actually had a rod go clear through the engine. The crankshaft also broke. The entire motor had to be replaced.
Well, what makes you think that that's Miss Aldern's fault?
I think if an oil light goes on and you drive or don't stop immediately, one would assume that you're not taking care of the car.
What if they were in the middle of a road where they didn't have a gas station?
Then pull over to the side and call for help. They ruined the engine.
How do I know whether or not the same thing might not have happened to your daughter? She doesn't know one thing from another about changing oil. She says, my dad takes care of that.
She does recognize if a light comes on, you stop.
According to Kelly, the light went on a few seconds before the engine seized.
I don't believe that. I don't.
Well, how do I know that? You weren't there.
That's true.
If your theory of the case is, Ms. Pappas, that the person driving the car, that would be Kelly, was negligent because she did not stop immediately and put oil in the car or call for help, then what is your theory with regard to Colleen being responsible? And you insisted that she give you half.
That's a valid point. However, no matter, even if you were in a brand new car and you drove 700 miles, when you stopped to purchase gasoline, you could check on the oil. I just thought people did that.
I don't check my oil every time I go into a gas station. What I'm asking you, Ms. Pappas, is why would you think Colleen would be responsible for half of your cost? She wasn't driving. She's a passenger.
I thought that she would be responsible because when she took the car from Ann, both girls said that if they broke it, they would buy the car. If any damage was created to the car under any circumstances,
oh, well, that's a different story. Did you say that?
We did make an agreement when we took the car. Annie said, if you break it, you buy it, and we did agree to that. But we...
Just a second. That's a horse of a different color. Now, Kelly, but for the fact that you agreed to take care of any damage to the car while it was in your possession, you would not be responsible. But if you said to Miss Pappas, anything that happens to the car, if we break it, we buy it, that means that you're going to take care of it.
Well, we didn't say exactly if anything happens to the car. The understanding was more...
Don't tell me what the understanding was. The words. Just the words.
Okay, the words, Annie said, you break it, you buy it, and we said, okay.
You owe her $800, my dear. You owe her $800. You wouldn't ordinarily. But if she said to you, you break it, you buy it, and you said, okay, you are guaranteeing the return of that car in the same condition that you took it in. Therefore, you owe her $800. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are... Yeah, this is case number 136 on the calendar, the matter of Reed versus Fishback. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Reed, you and Miss Fishback had a relationship and you have a child together. How old is your child?
She'll be 2 in July.
According to your complaint, you had some sort of an altercation with Miss Fishback and you separated.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Fishback, don't laugh.
I'm not laughing.
Good.
Okay.
And in retaliation, she went to your home. She really broke into your home, according to you. She got your keys and broke into your home. She poured bleach all over your clothes. She also tried to poison a pet snake of yours by putting bleach in the water. And you claim that she has continually harassed you and even assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll let her tell me about her defense. You tell me when you separated, sir.
Shortly after our daughter was born.
That was 2 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
When was this incident with the clothes?
The incident with my clothes happened in February of last year.
Tell me about it.
Prior to this, you know, we had a daughter, and...
Could you first of all, speak up and faster, because I have other things to do today.
I'm sorry.
Where are you from?
Georgia.
Things are slow in Georgia. I'm from Brooklyn. Things are speeded up a little.
Okay. On the night in question, me and my roommate, we have college night, and we was going to the club on Thursday. We went to the club. Miss Fishback showed up.
And you had already broken up at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Shortly after, I noticed she departed, but didn't think anything of it. I went home. My roommate went to his room. I went to mine, and I went in my closet, and I noticed there were spots all over my clothes. So I immediately looked to the ceiling to see if stuff was coming from the ceiling, because I didn't know where it was from.
And you noticed that your clothes were full of bleach?
Yeah.
You could take out one piece. You don't have to show me the whole thing.
Well, here's a sweater.
Okay, good.
And,
Clear. All right, Miss Fishback, you want to tell me why you poured bleach on his clothes?
Well, I poured bleach on his clothes because I found out that he was sleeping with a so-called friend of mine, but she turned out not to be my friend because she was sleeping with him.
Why didn't you pour bleach on her clothes?
yeah, that's not...
Shh. I asked you a question. She was your friend.
She was, yeah.
Just listen to me. You poured bleach on his clothes, and you weren't together with him anymore. So he wasn't betraying you with sleeping with somebody else.
Yes, he was.
Your friend was betraying you if she was having...
Well, her too.
Well,
we dealt with her later.
How did you deal with her later?
Well, just with talking about it and let it be.
That's not true.
That is true.
Listen to me. Don't speak.
Yes.
Now I'm asking Miss Fishback. How did you deal with your friend later?
Well, we...
Who's we?
Well, not we, but
Could you look
myself.
at me? Look at my... Listen to me. Look here.
Okay, well, we talked about it, and she lied. And
So
I
what
found
did you
out
do?
she was lying. Then we talked about it some more, and that was it. I didn't do anything.
Well, so my question
didn't
to you, Miss
fight her, I
Fishback,
didn't
pay
touch
attention,
her.
pay careful attention.
I didn't hear what you said.
Pay, because you keep talking.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So what you have to do is pay attention.
Okay.
If your friend betrayed you, then you deal with your friend by talking. Now, you went into his room, because there wasn't even a question. I didn't ask you, did you do it? I said, why did you do it? Now you can tell me why you don't think you're financially responsible for it.
Because we...
Look over here.
I paid for some of those clothes.
So?
That were bleached. So
So?
they were mine.
They weren't yours.
Okay.
So, how much are the clothes worth, sir?
Well, there's no real way for me to...
Well, tell me what they are. Why don't you take them out? Let's take a look at them. How many sweaters? How many pants?
Well, I have in my police report that I filed an estimated number. There were some things left out that I just recently found.
You should have found them when you filed the police report in February of 2002.
It was the only thing that was left off was my leather jacket that my mom bought. It was in the very back of my closet. And from what I seen, you can't see it because it was sprayed from the back side of
You
it.
should have had a neater closet. Let me see another article of clothing.
This is the jacket I'm talking about. And
Let me see another article of clothing. Nice clothes. How many shirts altogether?
I have 23 shirts.
Go ahead. What else?
14 pair of pants.
How many?
14 pair of pants.
You got 14 pairs of pants, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me about the snake.
Well, Miss Fishback did purchase a snake for me on my birthday.
That's a gift. What did you do to the snake?
It was in my cage. I didn't know at first, but then I have a...
Well, why don't we let Miss Fishback tell me what she did to the snake? What did you do to the snake, Miss
I
Fishback?
poured bleach in her tank.
You mean all over the tank?
No, just in her water bowl.
Why did you do that?
Because he doesn't need to have her.
You have custody of this 2-year-old child?
I do.
I would question your ability to parent a 2-year-old child.
Are you sure about that?
I am absolutely positive about that, madam,
right.
and I have more experience than you have years.
Okay.
Because if you are vicious enough, because you're in a snit over somebody sleeping with your old boyfriend, to try to kill a living being, then as far as I'm concerned, you should not have custody of a child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you on medication?
No, I'm just sitting here listening to you. I'm waiting for you to tell me what I better learn.
You better learn to grow up.
And later today,
When did you leave the band?
The first week of May, when I found out that the defendant was messing around with my girlfriend.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ricky Reed says ex-girlfriend Tia Fishback bleached his clothes, tried to kill his pet snake, and assaulted him.
I sat in family court for a lot of years. Pouring bleach on his clothes, I can understand. I don't count that, and he's going to get paid because you had no right to do it. But I could understand somebody getting that angry and saying, I'm going to cut the pants in half, or I'm going to pour bleach on you. I mean, this is not the first bleach on your clothes for a long time. I mean, it's an almost standard retaliatory mood.
It's more than that, though. It's more of taking responsibility for your child that, you know, he doesn't come pick up. Fought so hard.
That has nothing to do with the snake, you fool.
Well, it does.
You're a fool. It has nothing to do with the snake. If you wanted him to act more responsibly with his child, you think that you're going to teach him to act more responsibly with his child by poisoning a snake? You're some idiot.
All right.
Good. That's what you are. You're an idiot. And Mr. Reed, you want to be a responsible parent?
Yes, ma'am.
She acknowledges she tried to poison an animal to get even with you for sleeping with a girlfriend. I would question whether she has the ability to parent a child if she can do what she acknowledges that she did. Damaged clothes, harassment. You want to tell me about the harassment, Mr. Reed?
Well, there's been several occasions where Miss Fishback has harassed me. Actually, there was an altercation when she stole my credit card and made purchases on my credit card.
Where did she take your credit card from?
Out of my truck.
How many charges did she make on it?
She made phone calls to her mom and her aunt and to other people. The charges came up to like $100 and something.
Why'd you do that?
Because actually, I just had I had the credit card in my possession, but I just used it, and I paid his mother back for that, and I paid for that already.
When you say you had it in your possession, where did you get it from?
Out of his truck, like he said.
How often do you see your daughter?
Look
at me.
She lives right around the corner. I see her, if not every day, every other day.
Okay, so you see her pretty regularly?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Fishback?
Right now, I have a job I'm customer service representative, better yet. There we go.
What does that mean?
Meaning,
look at me.
Customer service.
I don't know what that means. Who do you work for? Give me the name of the company.
Macon County Greyhound Dog Track.
What does she do for a living?
Nothing.
That's what I do.
Actually, she just, she's there bothering me. That's why we have all these problems.
You picked up.
You're right, I did.
You picked up.
But, Your Honor, she wasn't like...
Then you don't have a problem. You created a problem. Mr. Reed, I have a certain amount of sympathy for you because I think she's nutty. I really think she's nutty. So I have a certain amount of sympathy for you. But, until you're really sure that this is going to be an it, you just bought the whole farm for the next 18 years or so, and that farm isn't wrapped too tight. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
She has serious personality disorders. So you better watch it very carefully. In any event, I'm giving you a judgment in the amount of $2,500 for your clothes, for the harassment. Madam, you better learn to look at this. Are you on medication?
No, I'm just sitting here listening to you. I'm waiting for you to tell me what I better learn.
You better learn to grow up.
Okay.
You made a child with somebody when you were not married, so you had no commitment. He wasn't going to be your knight in shining armor. That you can't seem to get through your head.
Okay.
Leave him alone. Try to be a good mother as long as you have custody of this child. That is your primary responsibility. And start to put a life together for yourself where you are engaged in some useful pursuit other than making trouble. Now do you understand?
Yeah.
Good. Goodbye.
Oh, just excuse you, miss, step out.
After all said and done, I knew I was wrong, but couldn't fix it.
Snakes can sense tainted food or water, and she didn't. Luckily, she didn't drink any.
He doesn't deserve anything. He shouldn't get it, but, you know, whatever.
I've had several charges brought up against her, and something always happens, and nothing's ever done, so I'm just ready to graduate and move on.
Broke heart, woman scorned, did damage. He'll get over it. Life will go on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Woodside versus Thompson. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Nathan Woodside is suing former bandmate, 20-year-old food deliverer Jaron Thompson for the return of his music equipment.
Mr. Woodside, you and the defendant were band members together. How many were in the band in total?
There's 4 in the band in total.
According to your complaint, you purchased some band equipment. When did you purchase the equipment?
Well, the bass that I'm suing for, I purchased last summer. I purchased it for myself. I'm also suing for 4 DJ speaker cabs that I bought on January 20th of this year. I'm also suing for a PV bass amp that I bought on February 2nd that I'm also suing for.
Of this year?
That's correct.
Okay. Can I see exactly what it is that you want back, sir? So you bought these items, the band used them. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you used them when you were with the band?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you left the band. When did you leave the band?
The first week of May, when I found out that the defendant was messing around with my girlfriend.
Is there any question, Mr. Thompson, that the plaintiff bought this equipment?
No.
Then why shouldn't he be able to take it when he left the band? Because you are keeping it from him.
Well, when he purchased it, it was for the band and intended for band use. And when he decided he wanted to leave the band, there's no reason that what was bought for the band should stay with the band.
Where is that written? In which testament? You're not his band anymore.
Well, he decided to leave on his own free will. No one told him he had to leave.
Of course. Just like he purchased this equipment.
For the band.
Of which he was a member.
Right.
He is no longer a member of the band.
Yeah, because he wanted to leave.
Right. Listen, slavery has gone a long time ago. Indentured servitude has gone a long time ago. He's unhappy with the band.
Well, that's
Do you
his own
understand?
problem.
Of course. You know what your problem
he
is?
purchased the equipment for the band for us to use.
Listen to me. You have to give him back his equipment.
Well, I don't think I should have to.
Just my own information, just so that I can amuse myself for a moment. What makes a band?
A group of people that want to make music
How
together.
large a group?
Well, in this case, it was...
No, not in this case. What number is it that makes a band?
Any number is possible.
Could
a band
you
could
have
be one person, a
Let me
band
ask
could
you,
be...
A band could be one person.
Right.
Well, that's an act. That's not a band. A band, I never heard of a one-person band. Give me an example, sir, of a one-person band. Somebody that Bird might know.
I hate it, but Dashboard Confessional. I don't know. They were a one-person act.
That's one-person act. I'm asking you to give Bird an example, because I'm an idiot when it comes to current musical groups. But Bird has teenage children. He might know the band that consists of one person. Give him a band that's 2 people.
Lightning Bolt.
Lightning Bolt.
Right.
Have you heard of Lightning Bolt?
Never heard of him.
They're really good.
Steely Dan.
Steely Dan's also good.
Steely Dan. How many people in Steely Dan's band?
That I don't know.
Do you know?
2.
2?
2 regular.
No. 2 regular, but when he plays, is it just 2 people?
Well, he's got a lot of guests. People.
The thing is, sir, let's say 3 people decide to leave the band, leaving just you.
Well, that's...
Shh. I'm smarter than you are.
Well, thanks.
I know that that's hard for you to believe, but I want you to trust me. I am smarter than you are.
Not saying anything.
Let's say The other 3 band members, he decided to leave because he believed you were messing around with his girlfriend. So he was distressed. Somebody else gets an opportunity to go play with Steely Dan and says, I'm leaving Mr. Thompson because I'd rather go play with Steely Dan. And then the 3rd one leaves to go play with John Ford Coley.
Him too.
Good? Him too?
Oh, yeah.
Did you think I knew that name?
I didn't think you knew.
I did. All right? Leaving only you left. And under your theory, because you can have a band that's made of 1 person, they should leave all the equipment that they bought with you.
No. That's
Good.
That's
so then we are together.
It's a different case because since he's the only person leaving the band, the rest of us are still together. Now, if
No, listen to me, Mr. Thompson. You're not following my example, sir. The band was composed of 4 people. You may choose to keep the rest of the 3 of you in your new band that only is 3 people together. And if another person leaves, you may choose to stay together with your new 2-man band. But the band of which he was a part is no longer in existence. It's gone because he left. And he was a piece of that band, and he gets to take his equipment with him. So within 5 days of today's hearing, in the company of a police officer, if you need one, sir, I will prepare an order that you will retrieve your property. Do you understand?
I would like to know if it's still in original condition, because I know he's very rough on equipment.
Let me explain something to you, sir. He may be very rough on equipment, but you are getting your equipment back. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Perfect. 5 days from today, we will cut the order. Clear, sir?
Well,
is it clear?
There's a little bit of a problem.
There's no problem. Is what I just said to you in English clear, Mr. Thompson?
It is
he
clear,
gets
but
his equipment back in 5 days. Get him out of here.
Yeah, this is case number 239 on the calendar in the matter of Rathgaber versus Borsity. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
It is your claim that the defendant had you falsely arrested for assault.
Yes, that's right, Your Honor.
And the defendant says that you did, in fact, hit him at a bar. He had every... He had every right to call and make a complaint, and that's your problem. So why don't you tell me how you know him and when this incident took place?
The incident took place in February of this year at a nightclub around the corner from my house. I did not know Mr. Borsity from Adam at the time. When he accosted me in this bar and was trying to convince me that I should leave with him and his friend to go somewhere, as he put it, a little more exciting. At that time, he started pushing me slightly, and we were by the revolving doors, and I was afraid he was going to try and push me out the doors of the restaurant.
How was he pushing you? Show me how he was pushing you.
With his hands around my waist, and I was facing him. It was very uncomfortable. I tried to turn. As I was wearing backless shoes, I tried to turn so that I could stop myself from being pushed. And it only lasted a couple of seconds before the manager at the time yelled over for him to cut it out and take a seat, which he did. However, at the very end of the evening, Mr. Borsity again came forward and, was basically asking me, don't you want to go somewhere else? Where are we going after this? That sort of thing. And I finally had lost my patience with him, and I believe what I said to him was, the closest you're going to get to leaving this bar with me is if I kick you in the butt on your way out the door.
Okay.
At which point, he grabbed me by the shoulders, and I broke his grip and slapped him. He had twice accosted me before I slapped him.
Just a second. So he grabbed you by the shoulders.
Yes.
And you pushed his arms away and slapped him. Okay. What happened next?
After that, he became really enraged, and his arm went up, and I believe he was going to strike me. But at that time, about 3 or 4 other people stepped in and pulled him off. When they finally let go of him, the first thing he did apparently was to turn and push poor Vince into a bunch of chairs. My understanding is that he was injured. I was standing nowhere near anyone at the time. No one was restraining me, and it says in the warrant as well that...
Okay, so that's what happened. Now, you went home that night.
Yes.
Nothing else happened. There was no other contact between the 2 of you.
As I was leaving, a friend of mine had agreed to walk me out. Mr. Borsity and Mr. Duffy had circled back around in their truck and were waiting for me outside and approached me. Jason, who was escorting me out, said, get back in the car. We don't want any trouble. You guys have, you've caused enough trouble this evening. Don't talk to her, don't anything. And they kept walking. And that's when Vince said, my buddy just wanted to apologize. And Mr. Borsity didn't say anything even like that. But there was no altercation or anything outside. I was like, yeah, fine, whatever, it's done. Got in my car, and I went home that evening.
And the next thing that happened was?
The next thing that happened with him is that I'm basically getting out of my shower on a Saturday evening. There's a sheriff pounding on my front door. I've got a robe and a towel on my head, and I'm arrested for an assault. that never happened.
What happened with that case?
Well, when we went to court, my attorney had hired a private investigator who had talked to everyone involved. But when we got to the court...
What happened to the case?
It got thrown out.
It was dismissed?
Yes, it was dismissed. They didn't even take it to trial. They said there wasn't enough evidence.
Okay. Now I'll hear you.
We were in the bar, we were drinking, we were doing karaoke. She was in the bar when we arrived. As the night went on, we were talking about several conversations. There was nobody else in the bar. There was only 5 people in the bar total. This, what she said, is a lot of fiction, a lot of fiction. We were talking about the martial arts and things like that, and she basically said, in an inebriated state, that she could probably take me in a conflict. Anyway, I went to the restroom, and I came back. Then she made another derogatory comment to me about my endowment. And I told her, I said...
What did she say to you?
Well, she was talking to the other bartender, and she's looking at me, and she said, I think he probably has a small, you know. That's what she said. And I said, were you talking to me? And she, with a smirk on her face, she said, oh, no, I was talking about somebody else. And I go, whatever. And I called her. I walked away from her, right?
Why did you call her name?
Because she was speaking to me. Because she was speaking. There was nobody else in the room, and she was smirking. And she'd already, you know, said she thought she could take me in a fight, and she was acting, you know. And she'd been up. She's not a wallflower, Your Honor. She had been up doing karaoke. She had done 4 or 5 songs, you know, over the course of the evening. But anyway, make a long story short, she, as I was walking away, she said it again, that, you know, I think she probably could take me in karate. And I said, well, I slapped down some money.
This was after you called her a name.
After I called her, yes, I did call her. And I slapped down some money on the table, and I said, there's $5 here that says you can't, you know, that you couldn't take me.
So you challenged her to, shh, well, no, please? You challenged her.
Well, I just basically said, yes, I did, I guess.
Okay.
And then Ron, the bartender here, he was bartending at the time, he witnessed it, and he said, take it outside if you're going to do anything. You know, I picked up my money and started walking away from her, and she came up behind me, tapped me on the shoulder, I turned around, she slapped me. And I looked at her and I said, what are you, crazy, right? She slapped me again. Then Vince jumped, he was on a stool, he came around, grabbed me and put my arms around me so it wouldn't go any further escalation, right? While my arms are being held like this, she punched me with a closed fist, okay? I broke free of him, that's how he got injured. When I threw him off me, he hit a table, he fell down, okay? Then she swung at me again, I grabbed her and I put her down on the floor. And then the other bartender, her friend Jason, he came around from the back of the bar and held her while I left. And that's what happened.
This is the fourth version of this story.
Just a second. Told. You testified, is that right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Both of you were drunk. The only one that wasn't drunk was him.
That's not true, in fact.
Oh, yes, it is.
No.
Oh, yes, it is.
And later today,
he came into my home, took off his clothes, and went straight to the bar.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Susan Rathgaber says she was arrested when fellow bar patron Duff Borsity falsely accused her of assault. Duff says she slapped him twice and then punched him.
Now, you weren't injured.
Well, no, I wasn't, ma'am. I did get it.
And so you went home.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You did not call the police from the bar?
No, I did not.
Did you drive yourself home immediately?
Well, no, I waited for him to come out. My roommate, Vince.
How long did you wait outside for Vince?
Probably about 5-10 minutes.
Is there any reason why you didn't call the police from the bar where there were witnesses?
He asked me to leave, and I didn't want to cause a scene there.
Who asked you to leave?
The bartender, Ron Jolly.
Okay, now step up. You know the plaintiff.
Yes, ma'am.
Before that evening, had you ever met the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you friendly with Mr. Borsky?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about the plaintiff?
She was a regular at the club probably about a year since I started working there.
Okay. Did you ever have any words with her?
No, ma'am.
Have any problems with her?
No, ma'am.
Did she ever become drunk and sloppy?
Once or twice, maybe, yes.
She did?
Yes.
And do you remember how much each of these 2 people had to drink that night?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me.
Both of them were pretty well intoxicated, yes.
And when the defendant left, he said he went out and got in his pickup truck. Mm-hmm. Who drove home?
That I don't know.
Who drove home?
I did, ma'am.
Drunk?
Yes, ma'am. She drove home drunk, too.
I'm going to get there. I thought you lived around the corner. Did you drive home?
Yes, ma'am, I did, but I had waited in the club for about 40 minutes by the time I left. And I waited in my car with Jason for about another 20 after that. And I actually had only had 3 beverages over a 4-hour period that
I don't think that's what he's saying. Is that right?
No, ma'am. I was serving shots to both parties all night.
And they were both pretty well drunk.
Correct. And this did happen around 1:30 And when I left the bar at 2 o'clock, there was nobody outside.
Now, you want to tell me what you observed that
Yes,
night?
ma'am. They were sitting on one side of the bar over here. She was on the other side of the bar. There was conversation back across the bar. The fact of the martial arts did come up. At that point, I did take keen to the conversation because when people are drinking in a bar, a conversation like that comes up, you need to keep an eye on them. Then I did see Mr. Borsity come around. She did actually challenge him a few times.